Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As a real estate investor, we always say that time is money. But today I've come across yet another one of these hedge fund investor properties where they are clearly in no hurry to get this property turned back out to the market. This is a property that was purchased back in 2022 and they still haven't sold this property. It looks like they may have done some repairs to it. We're gonna go check it out and see. I'm Tony. This is Run the Comps. Here we go. All right, we're here in Plano, Texas today to talk about this house behind me. This is a house that was seriously one of the ugliest houses in horrible condition that I'd ever seen. The city had it tagged as substandard. And in 2022, when this first property came to my attention, we came out and looked at it and it was filthy. I mean, it was up to your ankles in trash. There were dead rodents inside. I mean, it was nasty. The foundation was jacked up. The plumbing was jacked up. This property was in horrible condition. And we purchased it for one of the hedge fund buyers that I used to work for. And I think we paid about $240,000 for it. And we had a projected ARV, that's an after repaired value, that was going to be, I don't know, I think it was about $475,000. So there was a pretty good spread on this property back at the time when the investor purchased it. And they had a pretty heavy rehab budget to go with it. So they knew that this property was going to take a lot of work to get it back in shape. Now, after I purchased this property for the hedge fund, it was only about a month later that all the layoffs came around and they decided to sort of close up shop. And so this property did sit for a while, but it did go back on the market. They had somebody come in and do a trash out on this property. They had to clean all the trash out, get the stench out of here, and make it at least where it could be entered safely. How many dumpster loads and that sort of stuff?
It was just before we even started demoing the house. Just the trash out was 8 dumpster loads. Just before we even started demoing the house, there were baby raccoons, mama raccoons, squirrels, rats.
Oh yeah. And then they put it on the market in an as-is condition. Like I said, we purchased this property for about $240,000. Well, they turned around after they trashed it out. I mean, they might have spent about $2,000 to get all the trash out of here, load up a dumpster and haul it away. And then they put it on the market for $365,000, which was kind of laughable because the property was in such horrible condition. They knew that the plumbing was jacked up and the foundation needed work, and they went ahead and put it on the market looking for a sucker buyer at $365,000. Well, that never materialized, and after about 90 days, they reduced the price to $315,000. Now, I actually made an offer on this property somewhere around $275 because number one, I knew what kind of condition it was in, and number two, I knew what they paid for it. And I also talked to a number of investor friends of mine who also made offers on this property when it was up for sale at $365, and they told me that they were making offers closer to the $300,000 mark, which you could probably still purchase it and make some money at that time. But the hedge fund turned every offer down and never sold the property. It looks like they may have been doing some work on the house since then, so let's go check it out. One of the things I noticed when I pulled up to the property here, it looks like they've done some new paint, they got some new windows in this thing, but also, check this out, it looks like they've done some new plumbing here, got some new clean outs. Probably had to replace the whole plumbing line. Like I said, this property was pretty jacked up when we first found it in 2022. And you can see they've cleaned it up a little bit. Looks a little bit like some of the other properties that they have finally done some repairs to. but have yet to put on the market for sale. Yeah, here's one of the signs that the foundation was messed up. I'm sure they've fixed the foundation since then. Here's a couple more clean outs down here. Got some new windows all the way around. They've done some fresh paint. Oh, look, looks like they've done a whole new electric panel with everything bonded and grounded like it's supposed to be. So there's another good plus. Yeah, this thing was a real train wreck when we first got here. All right, a new fence. Got a new fence around here. Yeah, I'm not able to get inside that fence there, but you can see they probably don't have any sprinklers going. The yard is very dry. Something I noticed, though, was that there was a lockbox on the front door. And in some of those previous listings where the property didn't sell, they ended up just expiring or canceling the listing. They had a lockbox code in there. So I'm going to try this lockbox code and see if we can get in to the interior of this property. All right, so here it is. Let's check and see if we can make this happen here today. Here, bingo. Let's go take a look inside. All right, here we go. We got in. Yeah, so it looks like they have basically finished all of their renovations here. I got to say that lacks a little bit of imagination there just to paint that fireplace rock all black. Yeah, kitchen's been completely renovated, new cabinets, appliances, everything. This is a very straight ahead sort of remodeling, renovation strategy that you see a lot of investors do, especially the big corporate investors come in here and do a lot of these properties with the same sort of strategy and design. Yeah, it's got new sliding glass doors, fresh paint on the patio out back here. Still a little crack in the concrete, not a big deal, but it feels like they've probably straightened out this foundation. Got a little half bath over on this side of the house. And laundry, everything's fresh and ready to go. I wonder why they don't have this thing on the market yet. Here's the garage. All right. They're locked back up the way it should be here. Let's go take a look at the other side of the house here. Look, fresh carpet, fresh paint, everything's new. The bathroom has been redone. Everything has been redone in this house. It looks so much better than it did back in the day when we came over to purchase it. Now, why they don't have this property on the market yet is a huge question mark. It doesn't make any sense that they would just have this house ready for move-in and not have it available for sale. Yeah, new shower, everything back here. I'm not going to turn any lights on or anything. All right, so there you have it. This is another one of these hedge fund investor properties that they just did all the repairs to, but yet they don't have it on the market for sale. I am curious to know what today's values might look like. Like I said, when we first purchased this property in 2022, which was nearly 2 years ago, our estimated ARV, or after repaired value, was around 475, which is where some of the best comps in the neighborhood were selling at the time. So let's get back to the office and see what kind of value this property may hold today. Okay, let's recap what we know about this hedge fund investor property up in Plano, Texas. We know that they purchased it in December of 2022. And then they implemented a strategy to try and sell it as is. They did a trash out, cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, it was still a disaster of a house. It still needed foundation and plumbing and all these things, but they did get rid of all the trash and the dead rodents and what have you, and put it out on the market, which this is a strategy that it's hard to argue with. This is something that I do from time to time. You purchase a property, clean it up a little bit, and then put it out there as an investor special on the MLS. Well, that's what they did. They put it out there at $365,000 with price reductions, eventually leading it down to a price of $315,000. And it was on the market for about 135 days. Now, we do show that there were at least 4 accepted offers on this property. So they were receiving offers while it was listed, but for one reason or another, these deals all fell through. So perhaps buyer inspections, they realized how much work really needed to be done on this property. Who knows? That's probably what happened is buyers kind of got cold feet when they realized, oh, it needs foundation, it needs plumbing. The plumbing's a big deal. To have to replace all that old cast iron plumbing, that's a huge deal. You got to trench the yard. Sometimes you got to trench under the house. I mean, it's a big job, and not a lot of investors want to take on that kind of work. So eventually, the listing expired. They didn't take any offers. They turned their nose up at all the offers they have, or maybe the offers just sell through after inspections. Who really knows? They didn't sell it. We know that much. It went unsold. So now it looks like they have completed the renovations on the property. And here we are nearly 2 years later. They've been sitting in this house for 2 years. So carrying costs, property taxes. And mind you, property taxes here in Texas are frightfully expensive. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they are. And they've been sitting on this property for about 2 years. Now, let's go take a look and see what the local market in that area will support in terms of a list price value, or maybe a potential sale value. Because when we originally purchased that property, we anticipated an after repair value around $475,000. So let's go take a look and see what that figure might be today. Okay, let's run the comps on this subject property, the hedge fund property up in Plano. The first thing I noticed after I marked off a submarket territory to find some comps in the neighborhood is that there are quite a few active listings. There's actually more active listings than there are sold comps from the last 6 months, which shows a little bit of a shift towards a buyer's market type of condition over here. There is one pending sale over here at $495. I want to take a look at this one. And this is another recently renovated property that was listed and went under contract in about 10 days. You could see it's got a really nice open kitchen. I think these kitchen upgrades are a little bit more superior than what we saw at the subject property. So really nice. It was listed at $495 and it's under contract. We don't know what the actual sale price is, but we do know that at that price, buyers were interested. Now, something else that I noticed is that, again, there are a lot of active listings. Let's take a look at one of these sold comps real quick. I want to take a look at this one. It's a nicely maintained property with a pool. This one sold at $524,000. You can see it's got some renovations as well, nicely maintained. And so this is a good comp that we can point to and say that our value might be similar to that. And then you look at this. Let's look at one of the competitors. This one's down about a block away, across the street. And this one is listed at $499. You can see it's a little less on the upgrade, so sort of comparable to our subject property. It's got carpet floors. The kitchen has not been really updated in a while. I mean, it does have granite, but it's not truly updated like some of the other comps. So I think that's probably where the subject property needs to be in order to be competitive in this submarket, is a listing price somewhere around $490 to $495. would likely grab some attention from buyers who are interested in purchasing in this area. Now that we've run the comps on this subject property, it's easy to see that a supportable value is probably in the upper 400s, maybe a stretch into the low 500s, but I doubt it because the upgrades on the subject property are a little bit inferior to what we saw with some of the other houses in the neighborhood. So while the original after repaired value projections were at around 475, that may have been a little bit aggressive back at that time, but again, it doesn't look like there's been a whole lot of upward appreciation in this neighborhood since that time. So it's likely that this investor will list the property for sale and rent at the same time and see what happens, because they're not adverse to sitting on it as a rental property for a while, because that's what they do. They're a single family rental investor for the most part. And only time will tell what eventually happens with this property. So we'll keep an eye out for it, see if it gets listed anytime soon. Hard to understand why it's not already listed, but that's the decisions that the hedge fund investors make, right? Some of the things they do just don't make sense to you and I. Well, I appreciate a thumbs up if you like this. Share, subscribe, leave me a comment. That would be great. For now, I'm Tony. This is Run the Comps, and I'm out. Have a good day.